there'll be nothing, no electioneering, nothing political for me, just some personal stuff. And I'll begin just by saying that all my life I've really hated being told what to do. Are you in? Yeah! So that's back to my earliest memories. And I was sent away to a school when I was 11 years old, and I was a little fat kid, really short and fat. And the older guys liked to hold me upside down by my ankles, and sometimes they would hold me upside down by my ankles outside third and fourth story windows with cement down below. And I really didn't like that either. And it instilled in me a real desire for personal liberty and freedom and space and that sort of thing. And I got a little bit older, went to college, and I was always interested in philosophy, and I read a lot. A guy named John Stuart Mill, who wrote a book called On Liberty, and he pioneered the concept of something called self-regarding conduct. And man, did that sing to me. There is conduct that is self-regarding, which means it ain't nobody's business but your own. So I wrote a paper on a topic of burning interest to me, which was motorcycle helmet laws. And for the life of me, I couldn't think of any reason why anybody should have to wear a helmet when they were riding a motorcycle, because that was self-regarding conduct, and it's really cool to have a wind going through your hair. And you can see how the seeds of being at least a small L libertarian were already growing there. And then the same year that Gary Johnson self-identified as a libertarian, small L, which is 70, 71, he was in college, and I was in law school, and I picked up this musty book called The Constitution of Liberty. And I was taking a constitutional law course at the time, so I thought it might be about that. But no, it was by Friedrich Hayek, and it was the seminal treatise of libertarian philosophy. He had written a book earlier called The Road to Serfdom, which is a popular by comparison, because if you give up your freedoms, you become serfs, which is kind of a concise statement of libertarian philosophy. You give up your freedoms by having a government that's too big. And the Constitution of Liberty was a slightly more technical book, and chapter 15 or something began with a sentence, "In many ways, I wish the current chapter could be omitted." And the current chapter was about progressive taxation, and he was sure that it would be misunderstood. But essentially, he was writing that progressive taxation is not a good idea because it gives away too much power to the people writing the rules. And there's a story in there about the debate in Congress when they were putting in either the 16th Amendment or enacting the income tax. I forget exactly which, but people said, we want the power to levy a tax of up to 0.5% on income. And so the opponents said, well, what if some later Congress should want to impose a tax of 1% on income, or even 1.5%? And so the people who were in favor of it said, ridiculous! The possibility that a power could be cruelly abused is not a sufficient argument against the existence of that power. And they won! So we got the graduated income tax there. So I was, when I first took economics, Jack Kennedy was president, and the marginal income tax rate at the top was 91%. Right? So be careful about that camel's nose getting in under the tent. So by the time I finished my education, I was pretty much a card-carrying libertarian. In my first press conference as governor, I welcomed the members of the Fourth Estate by saying, "Welcome, fellow libertarians." And they kind of had watery smiles, and a couple of them laughed a little bit, but they kind of knew I wasn't kidding. And I did govern as such, and Gary governed as such, and we had each had, the governor was our first elected job for each of us, but we had sufficient experience in the private sector, and in my case in government, to know that big government was just a real sucker of oxygen out of the polity in which we all inhabit. So that was kind of fun, and I've had a few campaigns, and this is my favorite campaign. And it came about very suddenly. Gary Johnson, who he and I had overlapped as governors, and formed a mutual admiration society back in the 90s. My second term was the same as his first term. And he said, would you like to run? And I said, actually that sounds like a pretty good idea. And we haven't looked back, and our friendship has deepened, and I think our convergence on the issue of liberty has deepened as well, and we're probably both more articulate about it now than we were before. And just in the last several weeks, as things have really picked up speed, I found myself saying at rallies and at meetings, for the first time in my life, I really feel as though I'm part of a movement, not an organization. When you're a big R Republican, particularly if you're an office holder or an official of that party, or a big D Democrat, an office holder or an official, you're part of an organization. You are in no way part of a movement, and you are just so far away from the grassroots and what people out there in the real world are thinking that it just is pathetic. And that's a major backdrop of this year's campaign. And this is the year when the ticket has enough heft with two-term governors, and the sort of delicious point that we were red governors in blue states, so by definition we had to work across the aisle, and the undeniable fact that people in Washington do not work across the aisle, and in fact that they hate each other, and those two parties exist for no other principal purpose than to kill each other. And it's mirrored at the top level with the two campaigns that exist with no purpose other than to kill the other campaign. Witness the fact that they both say, oh my God, if you vote for anybody except me, if you're a third party or you do anything other than vote for me, you're going to like the horrible Trump or the horrible Clinton. Well, that's kind of self-centered. And the Libertarian Party is filled with idealistic individuals. I would say the Libertarian volunteers that I meet in every state are the most altruistic people that I've ever met in politics, because they want what's best for everybody. And they agree with me and Gary that the job of the government should be to try to maximize the happiness and the prosperity and the freedom and liberty of everybody in the country. And that's not how the R's and the D's think. So in a way, the people who are the libertarian workers have thought through the whole problem of politics, and they have an overarching vision that the people in the partisan politics in Washington don't have. And I think the country is slowly waking up to that fact. When I was in college, I took a course from a guy named Louis Hartz, wrote a book called The Founding of New Societies. And he had a chapter on what's a democracy. And he said, the essence of a democracy is this, that the individual shall never be thrust in a corner. I've always loved that. Once upon a time, I gave a talk to a Republican National Convention. And I was a new governor, and I had like 1 minute. And I stood up, it was the Pat Buchanan Convention. I stood up and said, well, my thinking is, I want the government out of your pocketbook and out of your bedroom. So, the front row was all Pat Buchanan delegates with their red hands, and as one, they rose and shouted and screamed and said, that's it! That's it! He's just admitted he's gay! He's gay! they wanted to pat down the dust on my grave in the worst way. But as I say, I think people are coming to see that the duopoly or the two-party monopoly in Washington has not served us well. Certainly, partly because of hyper-gerrymandering, partly because of hyper-partisanhood, a lot because of that. They're not getting things done for the country. And I think when people focus on the Constitution of liberty as represented by the party that Gary and I are in, they're going to see that it's a refreshing contrast to the old way of doing things. And I predict that before too long, it won't be this cycle, it won't be the next cycle, but it could be 10 years, that a party representing the constellation of views that we all entertain in this room on the bedrock of freedom and liberty is going to be the majority party in the United States. If you look at the national polls, the combination of being fiscally responsible, i.e. having some notion of stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and socially inclusive and welcoming, and Gary and I don't even say we're pro-choice, like it or lump it. We say we're agnostic. Everybody can be pro-choice, pro-life. It's your view. Whatever floats your boat. What's good for you? You want to make love to a toaster oven? You make love to a toaster oven. My first race for governor, my staff and I used to not joke. We used to observe that my base had a very small base going in. It was gay, lesbian readers of Soldier of Fortune magazine. But it's so difficult to argue with, and it's not that I've drunk any Kool-Aid or anything. This is a lifelong obsession of mine, creating that space and wanting what's best for everybody and wanting to do something about it. And I'm very grateful that I've had the chance to do so to this point, and I'm very grateful that you all are here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Vice President of the United States, William Weld. Thank you to all our speakers, Larry Sharp, Ed Lopez, Ben Kessel, Ken Abraham, Catherine Miami, Wolf, Lou Perez. Please check out our website, libertytour2016.com, to get our future dates. We're going to cities for the next 3 weeks, so tell your friends in all those cities. Check out ouramericainitiative.org. The movement continues past this election. And also, please check out fairdebates.com and sign a petition to allow more voices in the debates. And most importantly, the pizza is here. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is free pizza in the back. Thank you guys so much. I'm Travis O'Brien. I'm going to go make love to a toaster oven. Good night.